Hi, good evening to our viewers. This is Rappler Recap, and today we're giving you a summary of what went down in the Commission on Elections, which released a resolution junking a petition seeking to nullify the candidacy of Ferdinand Marcos Jr. I am Dwight De Leon, your Comelec beat reporter. And with
And
me is Lian Buwan, our justice reporter. Hi, Lian. Kamusta ka today? I know we've both been busy. We've been expecting this update, pero somehow it still took us by surprise.
yeah, kasi I expected that you would be busy today because ang hatian natin sa iyo ang first division at akin ang second division. And you know, the deadline of January 17 was given by Commissioner Rowena Guanzon of the first division. So akala ko ikaw yung busy, pero ako pala yung
Yes.
magiging busy sa second division. So
Oo
Dwight,
nga
could
eh.
you walk us through that, what happened kaninang umaga?
Oo nga, as what you've said, ang hinihintay nating decision today is the first decision. Siguro, for our viewers, just a quick siguro explainer lang. May dalawang divisions kasi yung Commission on Elections. First division, second division. Bawat division, may na-handle silang multiple cases against Marcos Jr. So first division, consolidated yung tatlong petitions into one. So basically, isang ruling lang yung ine-expect natin today sa first division. Parang ganun yung lalabas, yun yung nakaschedule around January 17. And by 9 in the morning, we confirmed pa with spokesperson James Jimenez, ila-livestream ba yung ruling, and Jimenez said yes around 10 a.m. onwards. But then, another officer from the Comelec's Education Department or Education and Information Department, si Attorney Lai David, said naman in a television interview na hindi raw matutuloy yung promulgation because meron daw COVID-19, may nagka-COVID-19 daw sa isa sa mga staff members, ganyan. So parang at least dito sa newsroom natin, okay, siguro walang lalabas na decision today. But then by around past 10 or before 11 a.m., ito namang second division ang nag-release ng resolution on one of the cases against Marcos Jr. Ito nga yung petition to cancel his certificate of candidacy. Binasura ito ng Comelec Second Division. It's probably the first high-profile petition na binasura because it's filed by civic leaders led by former Supreme Court spokesman Theodore Te. And I know, Lian, you've been following this case since November when it was filed, and binasa nating buo yung ruling, but I know that ikaw yung mas makakapag-explain kung bakit nga ba binasura ng Second Division itong kaso na to.
Right. Thank you, Dwight. The petition to cancel COC by the civic leaders represented by Attorney Ted Te, yun na lang yung natitirang petition to cancel the COC of Bongbong Marcos. Ito lang, itong hawak lang ng second division. So now that it's been junked, all the attention goes to petition for DQ. Yung petition to cancel COC kasi, it would have had a much greater impact on Bongbong Marcos because if his COC is cancelled with finality, walang pwedeng mag-substitute sa kanya because it's as if no COC was ever filed. Yung petitions for disqualification, one by the group of Christian Monsod, which is also pending before the second division, and yun nga yung sinasabi mong three consolidated, that's one sa first division. If ever they are granted, and they are granted with finality, pwedeng may mag-substitute kay Marcos as long as that person has the same surname. So it can be either Amy Marcos, Imelda Marcos, or Lisa Araneta Marcos, ganon. So the petition to cancel COC was junked, but as we will probably discuss later, it's not game over for the petitioners because it is appealable to the ANBank, which they would avail. Mag-MR sila sa ANBank, and if denied sila ng ANBank or if granted sila ng ANBank, for sure, kung sino man ang manalo o matalo sa Comelec ANBank, aakyat yan sa Supreme Court. So all roads lead to the Supreme Court. I'll just discuss yung ruling ng second division. First surprise actually is signatory na sa Commissioner Ray Bulay kasi for a while we didn't know kung kailan siya mag-take ng office because he has just been confirmed by the Commission on Appointments. So kanina, the ruling was penned by Commissioner Socorro Inting and concurrences from Commissioners Antonio Co and Ray Bulay. So a petition to cancel COC has only one ground. Exclusive yon, isa lang. You should prove material material misrepresentation when the candidate filled out his COC. And for the petitioners, nung sinabi ni Marcos that he was qualified to run for president and that kasi may tanong doon na, have you ever been convicted of an offense that perpetually disqualified you? Ang tinik niyang box ay no. So for the petitioners, that was material misrepresentation. Sa ruling ng second division, nag-agree sila na yung dalawang information na yun, they are material, importante sila, pero para sa kanila, hindi siya misrepresentation. Because for them, there was no deliberate attempt or willful attempt to mislead or misrepresent or lie sa COC. Kasi para sa kanila, as far as Marcos was concerned, he thought and he knew he was qualified to run, number one, because he had, sabi ng wording ng ponensya ni Commissioner Inting, he had all those years of public service tucked under his belt. So alam niya, he's really qualified to run. Sinabi rin ng second division na actually we could have summarily dismissed this petition kasi para sa kanila there should have been one exclusive ground, which is material misrepresentation, but here you are invoking grounds for disqualification which shouldn't be. So parang sabi ng ponensya, pwede nga namin i-dismiss na to outright, but here we are, we're still ruling on the merits. So going on the merits, the ponensya found that unang-una, failure to file ITRs is not a crime of moral turpitude. They agreed with the Marcos lawyers in that point. Pangalawa, there was no imprisonment by the sanction of imprisonment by the Court of Appeals in 1997. So kahit pa nililinaw ng Comelec Second Division na, alam mo, wala naman kaming kapangyarihan para mag-review ng Court of Appeals decision kasi quasi-judicial lang naman kami, diba? Korte yun. Pero sinabi na rin nila na nevertheless, that is correct, and that is what the CA said, which is there was no sanction of imprisonment, and therefore, hindi siya disqualification kasi the disqualification ground should have been imprisoned to more than 18 months in jail. So wala yun. The third and yung pinaka-ini-stress ng kampo ng mga petitioner is that by mere conviction of failure to file ITR, meron siyang accessory penalty of perpetual disqualification from public office. So, by sheer conviction, dapat disqualified ka. But the ponensya disagreed. Number one, kasi yung perpetual disqualification accessory penalty, makikita mo lang siya sa Presidential Decree 1994. And PD 1994 only took effect in January 1986. So para sa second division, hindi mo siya pwedeng i-retroactively apply. Yung years involved kay Marcos is 1982 to 1985. So para sa kanila, yung 1982 to 1985, wala na yon, hindi na siya covered ng PD 1994. And dun sa 1985 na taxable year na ITR, even though Marcos was supposed to file his 1985 ITR by March 1986, para sa ponensya, by that time, in exile na ang mga Marcos, nasa Hawaii na sila, and so hindi na siya public officer, and PD 1994 still should not apply. That's for the ponensya. May separate opinion si Commissioner Ko. Sinasabi niya na disagree siya sa reasoning, pero agree pa rin siya na dapat i-deny. And this was Commissioner Ko's reasoning. Para sa kanya, yung 1985 ITR ni Marcos na hindi niya final, covered siya ng PD 1994. So, hindi mo pwedeng sabihin dahil nasa exile na sila nung nasa Hawaii, hindi na siya public officer. Of course, public officer pa rin siya dahil meron pa rin siyang ITR na kailangang i-file. But for Commissioner Ko, the perpetual disqualification penalty is not an accessory penalty, but it is a principal penalty. At para kay Commissioner Ko, principal penalty should be expressly written in a decision. Dapat in-spell out ng Court of Appeals. At dahil hindi in-spell out ng Court of Appeals, para kay Commissioner Ko, wala pa rin tayong pinag-uusapan na perpetual disqualification. So for him, he might have disagreed with the reasoning of the ponensya. He still agreed with the result. That's why unanimous yung ruling ng second division. And Dwight, can you remind us kung ano ba yung mga natitira pang petition laban kay Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr.?
Yes. It's important to note that this is just one of the many petitions against Marcos. So baka in the coming days makabasa ulit kayo ng mga rulings, ganyan, ng mga news articles saying na this petition was junked, ganyan, or possibly petition was granted, kung ano man yung kalabasan ng mga rulings. Pero right now, we have, sa first division, we have three petitions consolidated into one. Ito yung petitions in the Bonifacio Ilagan and martial survivors. Ito yung petition, pangalawa yung petition ng Akbayan, and pangatlo yung petition ng faction ng Partido Federal ng Pilipinas. So itong tatlong petitions na to, magkakaroon ng isang ruling dito ang Comelec First Division soon, supposedly today. Pero yun nga, hindi nangyari kasi nagkaroon nga ng COVID-19 issue sa Comelec. Tapos sa second division, mayroong pang natitirang isang disqualification case filed by an Ilocano group whose lawyer is former Comelec chairman and constitution framer, Christian Monson. But I guess these petitions kasi also mention the tax conviction from the 1990s, specifically dun sa second division na, yun nga, today nag-release din ng kanilang ruling and siguro giving us some insight on how they view the tax conviction of the Marcos. So Lian, anong possible implications nito sa pag-decide ng second division? Siguro let's stick to the second division doon sa disqualification case filed by the group of Christian Monson.
Yeah, it's good that you want to stick with the second division kasi mahirap kasing i-compare siya kapag mag-e-expect tayo kung ano ba yung magiging desisyon ng first division, because first division is made up of completely separate people with distinct minds and separate separate appreciation. Yeah. So even though we want the law to be universal and uniform, iba-iba pa rin ang utak ng mga tao. So first division is a distinct division altogether. So yeah, dun sa second division, they are handling the petition for disqualification filed by an Ilocano group of martial law victims with their lawyer, yung former Comelec chief and constitutionalist Christian Monson. It has basically the same disqualification grounds as the petition to cancel COC. So on that note, pwede mong sabihin, i-deny din to kasi kung sinabi na sa petition to cancel COC that there was no ground for disqualification and it's the same people, then probably they will also deny the Christian Monson petition. But Christian Monson's group had an additional argument. Para sa kanila, nung na-convict si Bongbong Marcos ng failure to file an ITR, he was also disqualified from voting. So tinanggal sa kanya ang right to suffrage. And the constitutional requirement to be a president is you should have been able to read or write, you're a natural born Filipino, and you are a voter. So para sa Christian Monson petition, he was disqualified from being a voter. Therefore, he doesn't comply with all the constitutional requirements to be a president. Some are commenting that that is a dangerous path to take kasi maraming nako-convict na Pilipino. Ibig sabihin ba lahat sila ay i-disqualify mo from being voters? Do you take away that right to be a voter? But I guess this is a novel case and this is a constitutionalist framework we're talking about. It's not just a lawyer. It's Christian Monson of all people. So it would be interesting to see how they will rule upon that one argument because it's a very interesting case. And then, right, ito-toss back ko sa'yo kasi if the petitions for disqualification are the ones that prosper, kung ma-disqualify nga si Bongbong Marcos, he can be substituted. So ano ba yung mga scenarios na tinitignan natin?
Well, right now, syempre yung mga tao nag-speculate sila kung ano ba yung posibleng mangyari because we are in the Philippines. Maraming surprises na pwedeng mangyari. One, paano kung ma-disqualify si Bongbong Marcos before the elections? He has the right of substitution, which means anyone of the same surname can replace him. So, although yung pangalan niya ay nakalagay sa balota, yung votes magka-count doon sa kanyang substitute. For example, that could be his wife or his sister, si Senator Amy Marcos. Kapag naman after the elections, medyo tricky kasi, hindi pa rin natin nakikita yung ganitong scenario. Pero kanina nung tinanong natin si Comelec spokesman James Jimenez and siguro some lawyers na rin I talked to, the likely scenario is that the vice president or the person who will win the vice presidency in May will succeed Marcos if ever he wins the presidency, but then is disqualified after election day. But right now, what's sure is that Marcos' name is on the ballot, and that's because none of the cases against him have been resolved at the division level. So I think the Comelec will release the ballot phase later. Pero kanina kinonfirm na nila that Marcos name is there. We will see his name there. So pagdating ng election day, may Marcos sa balota. So yes. So anyway, Lian, anong sinasabi ba ng Marcos camp in all of this? I think they're a bit victorious siguro today.
Yeah, of course, sabi nga nila, it's a good news just in time for the reopening of their HQ kasi nagsara sila because there were a few cases in their HQ. Una sinabi nila na as expected, the petition was frivolous. So parang ito na, they were saying that the Comelec was unanimous in saying. So sana may apela pa sila sa mga adversaries nila and mga opponents na alam mo, tulungan na lang natin yung Comelec at magkaisa-isa tayo para magkaroon tayo ng mapayapa at maayos na election, and that is very on the spot with the Marcos messaging of unity, diba? Sila yung unity team, and every time they get the chance, they will always pivot back to the message of unity. So yun lang. So when they say that the Comelec was already unanimous in denying this petition to cancel COC, it could send the message that the game is over. But yun nga, sabi nga natin, this is only one of 3 petitions. It is appealable to the Anbank of Comelec and then appealable to the Supreme Court. Actually, nagtry akong magtanong sa Supreme Court kanina kasi sabi ko, in the spirit of asking for expediency, kasi nga may naman na nga yung election, how would you treat these cases? Would they be consolidated as one? Would you treat each petition as one case, or petition to cancel COC as one and then petition for disqualification as one? Kasi kung ititreat mo yan na tatlo, hanggang anong petsa pa tayo matatapos, magbobotohan na sa Mayo? But unfortunately, we did not expectedly get a response from the Supreme Court kasi they don't like answering things that are about to come to them, no, para hindi sila mabahiran. So I was trying to ask that kanina sa spokesperson ni Bongbong Marcos na si Attorney Vic Rodriguez if they have a same scenario of it will be a final showdown in the Supreme Court. Pero sabi niya sa akin, bigyan mo muna kami ng pagkakataong i-celebrate ang ruling na to kasi kakapanalo nga naman nila. So parang sabi niya, give us time to celebrate this win, which was just served to just to us in the morning. So yun, that is the reaction of the Marcos camp, and expectedly it will be a very busy couple of days for you, Dwight, and probably for me kasi baka ako rin yung Christian Monsod kasi the first division, we're expecting that to be live streamed as promised by Commissioner Guanzon. Tama pa rin ba? Or is that still the forecast?
Yes, they probably won't release it tomorrow, I guess, because there are COVID cases, ganyan. I mean, yun nga, the COVID-19 hit their office, but hopefully we get a resolution soon enough, hopefully this week, since they promised a January 17 issuance of a resolution. So I'm hoping that it will come out sooner than later.
Yeah, so we're just getting into the second phase of all this drama. We are not yet close to finishing this episode. Magkikita-kita tayo lahat sa Padre Faura as I always say.
Anyway, sige, that ends our Rappler Recap. Thank you, Lian Buwan. And sa ating mga viewers, we'll see what happens in the coming days. So stay tuned and visit the Rappler website for our stories. Thank you very much and have a good evening.